Hello, I'm Marc Sumner, host of the Channel Chat podcast show, and today I have Jack Watson, the MD of Bytes Software Services in the studio. How are we doing, Jack?
I'm doing really well. How are you, Mark?
I'm very good. I'm very good. Jack, normally when I get a guest in the studio, I scour their LinkedIn profile and I normally see something in there and I think I'll ask them. And with you, I looked at your profile and I thought, did Jack want to be a history teacher when he was younger? Because you did history at Chichester, so why did you do that?
I loved history. I loved history when I was at school. I like learning from the past, sometimes from past mistakes, which is useful. And I just really enjoyed it. I didn't know what I wanted to do in life. And that was when university was just really fun, right? You just want to go there because you want to have fun. So I just thought, I'm going to pick that as my degree because I'm passionate about it. And then I'll just go out there and have a lot of fun and, meet friends and generate new experiences while I'm there. And that just felt right. So it wasn't any kind of design behind any of it. It was just sort of, this is what I enjoy. I'm going to go and do that for 3 years. Came out of it and then thought, well, am I really going to take a fourth year just so that I can then put that into practice as a teacher? Both my parents were teachers. But I thought, do you know what? I'm just going to jump into something that can make me some money in the meantime while I figure out what I really want to do with my life.
So let's take you back to 2006, because can you share the story of how you joined Bytes?
I went to a recruitment day with an organisation called Subsbench. I think it was in Woking, and turned up on the day, and it was an assessment day, so I had lots of people there, kind of suited and booted, and it was quite an aggressive day of kind of aptitude tests and you working together in teams or as individuals and presenting content, basically showcasing your kind of sales skills. And I didn't have any experience in any of this, and I didn't actually prepare for it either, so I didn't perform particularly well. And then sort of mid-morning, they had a chart up in the hall, which kind of shows a leaderboard, live leaderboard. And I was at the bottom of the leaderboard. And they were going
to get rid of you.
There were a lot of people at that assessment event. And I remember seeing this guy. I thought, this guy's handsome guy. Like, he was so on point. He had these things all together. A very close friend of mine now. Actually turned out that, he started Bytes on the same day that I did. He now works at Software One. His name's Ian White. But from the moment I saw him, I was like, that's a cool guy. He's got his things together. He really knows what he's doing. And I thought, oh, wow, that's somebody who's either prepared or just it comes naturally. And he was just a real talent in my eyes. From that moment right the way through to this moment right now, he really is. But on that assessment day, I remember grabbing my coat at lunchtime thinking, I'm just going to walk out of here. I hate it. I didn't like the people that I was up against. I just thought they were too aggressive. They don't listen. They're just telling you what you want to hear, kind of talking over each other.
Tell and sell people.
I just didn't like that kind of sales culture as I saw it in that moment. And just, I have a different style to me that I recognise now. But in that moment, I was just like, I don't like this. I actually don't like these people. And then I took one step out the door and thought, well, you know what? I think I'm better than these people. I'm going to do it my way.
Did you actually start walking out the door?
So I went back in, and I think on the leaderboard I finished maybe top 25. So I still wasn't, but I still by no means was one of the best on that assessment day. And somebody pulled me aside and said, "I've got a company for you." And he said, "Tomorrow, I want you to go to this company. It's called Bytes. They're based in Yule West in Surrey, and I want you to interview for them." So next day, which was a Friday, I went to Bytes, interviewed for it. Neil Lomax gave me the job. He was a sales manager at Bytes Software Services at the time. And I started on the Monday, the very next week.
Wow.
Done.
Wow. How many people were in the company at that point?
Memory's a little sketchy on it, but I think it was about 65 people. Within Bytes Software Services, we're about 750 now.
What made you make the choice that was the right company for you? Because you'd obviously had that experience of having that assessment day, which could put a lot of people off.
Yeah.
And you've had an interview the next day and they've obviously said start Monday. What made you sort of thought, yeah, this is the opportunity for me?
I think there were three things to it. The first one is, let's not beat around the bush on it. It's not like I had other choices or even bothered to look at other choices. I just thought, I just wanted to go there and just kind of get a feel for it. And if it felt right, I was going to go for it and not waste time and consider another option. And that's how that landed. I think the kind of second part to that really is that cool guy that I saw on that assessment day, who I was like, that's who I want to be. He was there.
Right. Yeah.
And that was the same company that they put, by my short experience and standards at that time, someone who I thought was one of the best, and he was in that room too. And then I think the third thing was you just got a great vibe. Neil Murphy, Keith Richardson, who were head of the ship at the time, Neil Lomax, who was the sales manager, who was bringing us all on board. You just got a fantastic vibe from him and other people in the room. And I just thought, actually, from that assessment day at Bytes, there was already a team culture in the room within 40 minutes. And I just thought, I like this. This company's got something that sits really well with me. It's not too high pressure. It's not too aggressive. They genuinely take the time to kind of figure out what makes you tick. And then they see it as your job to get the best out of you. It's kind of like going to private school and the way that people kind of describe private school, where they just say, actually, if you've got a teacher with less students and they have a mindset of, I'm just going to find what that talent is within you, Mark, and it's my job as a teacher to bring that out. And it might be playing violin, it might be playing sports, or it might be selling software. But that's my job, is to bring that talent out of you and use it to the strengths of us as an organisation. And I got that day one at working at Bytes.
Wow, great mentality as well. Jack, it's less and less common that I speak to people that stay in the same business for a long, long time, or a significant amount of time. Now, you've been there a long time.
Yeah.
What has made you stay at Bytes for so long?
The people. It's all about the people. People who I work with at Bytes, have grown with the organisation in the same way that I have. I think there's a fantastic sense of community around that, which I really enjoy. My friends work at Bytes, and continually as new people join Bytes, you build on those relationships, on those networks. And at the time, and still now post-COVID, what Bytes are famous for is building trusted relationships inside the organisation and outwardly through partners and customers. So that really resonates with me, in that you're continually in a culture whereby people are striving to keep those relationships fed and watered. And it's one of the reasons why I think we've responded so well to return to office and post-COVID era, is people genuinely miss each other and they want to be back spending time with each other again. And there is that core nucleus at Bytes that's growing, and has grown over the last 18 and a half years that I've been there. And it's a brilliant thing. It's a wonderful thing. And we have fun. We have fun. So, and that's really important. It's one of the Bytes values.
Jack, when I look at your profile, account manager, senior account manager, account director, sales manager, sales director, MD. That's a pretty career ladder of going up pretty significantly quite quickly. What's been the most challenging part of being an MD? And what I'm interested to find out is, there's being an MD of the company you first joined, 65 people. Okay, that'd be great for someone to get that level. But you've joined a company as an account manager at 65 people, but then you've taken over as MD as a massive company. There's got to be loads of challenges to making that transition from having a sales career, but the evolution of the company, but then taking the job, and it's a massive company.
The first thing really to call out, Mark, is that if that only happens if you've got advocates in the business working alongside you, working in partnership with you, mentoring you and helping you develop, and then having a culture that actually grows great people to deliver amazing things. So, you're a byproduct of that environment. So you've got to give a lot of credence to that you're set up for success at Bytes. And, I'm just one of many beneficiaries that have been able to kind of grow with the organisation. And it's a contributing reason why people don't move away from Bytes, is because they kind of see that as, well, there's always opportunity. Now more than ever, in the context of, how quickly things are moving and the opportunity that exists within the organisation itself. On the point of challenges, the challenges, I think the first challenge, when you're straight in the door and there's a phone, go call. The first thing is, you've got to have a strong sense of self in terms of what your style is and how do you approach and sell. And for me, you've got to take bits of people around you and training and then kind of fashion that into, this is something that feels natural for me and this is how I'm going to approach it. My friends, when I was, had a moderate level of success in frontline sales, they used to say to me, what is it that you actually do? And I used to say, I'm a lawyer for software. That's what I do. Because back then, it's contracts, it's analysis, it's telling customers things that they should know, but their existing partners not telling them. It's giving them the edge all the time. And that's what we're always looking for. Every day, every week, get out of bed. Where's the edge? And that was, that was how we put that together. And then once you have a mindset like that, you can every single challenge, every single setback is just another opportunity for you to learn and grow. And it's just fuel, constant fuel, because there's nothing but challenges and setbacks that you see from your customers, your partners, your vendors, your colleagues, your manager. Managing up's super important in that. And I don't think you get to where you get to as an MD if you can't manage up well.
A lot of MDs, Jack, come from like a finance background or an operations background. What do you sort of see as the advantages or maybe disadvantages of coming from a sales background?
The disadvantage first is, there'll be you should expect that they're better on the numbers. That's for sure. And the art of the possible in the context of the art of finance, it's certainly something which I've developed at and do enjoy, because you've got to enjoy learning. And if you enjoy learning, then that's a bit of a superpower within our industry, and particularly within the channel, to kind of stay agile. So I think that's something that's really important.
Do you sort of see it as an advantage coming from a sales background? Because when I look at MDs, they're coming from, especially larger organisations, they might be coming from an operations background where they streamline processes, or a finance background where they're looking for numbers. But do you see there as an advantage of you being from that? You basically come from bottom right up to the top, that sales sort of pedigree.
Yeah, in a kind of like Daniel Pink sort of way, everyone's in sales, whether you like it or not. Everybody's spending your time, energy and effort to convince somebody or cajole someone to do something that helps you drive you forward in your job, regardless of whether you sit in service delivery or operations or in a sales function. So everybody's in sales, whether you like that statement or not. That is a belief. So I think if you come from that sales background, you understand that, you're able to kind of translate that down, not into these large organizations like Bytes that are sales companies that sell a lot of software, sell a lot of cloud, a lot of cybersecurity and a lot of service, but you're able to then speak to and connect the dots between the sales function, the operational function, delivery and finance, and these other areas of the business, to fundamentally understand each other better and be better connected in the sense of purpose and objectives and alignment to what those companies' goals. So I see that as a big advantage if you come from a sales background. The other part of it is just that commercial acumen that you build up over a period of time, because everybody's selling to you, again, whether they realize it or not, whether it's conscious or not. That's a constant level of engagement between you and whoever you're conversing with at any moment in time. So I like that. And I like calling that out. And again, a lot of that comes down to style. Just call it out. Just say, right, we're going to look each other in the eyes right now and just go, okay, what are you selling to me? What do you want? What do I want? And if there's a reciprocal benefit to both of us, then that's a great place for us to start. And so many people just miss that. They're straight in, particularly now, straight in solution selling without actually fundamentally taking the time to understand what are the business drivers, what are the personal drivers, and the fact that most organizations might not be like yours. They aren't aligned. There's going to be different personalities. There's going to be departments vying for budget and vying for different objectives. It's human nature at the end of the day, and that's really nice when you can just say, we were talking about it earlier before the show, which was, you just want to kind of talk to people like they're people, and there's some of that's missed. And so I enjoy that aspect of it, and I think coming from that sales background just really gives you that, because you've been out in the field from day one, being a lawyer from software, or engaging with customers, partners, and trying to get a win for everybody.
Do you miss the cut and thrust of sales, or are you still quite close to customers yourself?
Hopefully you can tell by this conversation the way it's going.
Exactly.
That,
you still must love it, mustn't you?
I love speaking to customers. I love sales. I love my definition of sales. I dislike other people's definition of sales. It's a spectrum, and it works. There's no right or wrong. It just works for different people. And I like that in the context of realizing that people are different. People have different strengths, and if you speak to people and ask people in calibrated ways, you can get the right result. You can get them to open up and to build trust with somebody. So I'm hugely passionate about sales. Do I miss it? I share with people maybe a little bit too often than I really should, where I say, I'll never retire from Bytes. I'll never retire from Bytes. When I'm ready to step down from MD at Bytes Software Services, I'll set up a sales team in Newcastle. I'll have a little Bytes of my own, and I'll get that sense of close-knit sales community and go out there and drive it, whatever that looks like in the future with agentic AI. But that'll be my retirement. So it will come full circle.
You've obviously been part of driving the culture, instrumental in the culture, with obviously other people in the organisation. When I ever speak to other big partners in the UK, they're obviously very proud of their culture. But what makes the culture so special at Bytes for you?
You've got to have care for each other. You've got to care for the company. The company at the end of the day is a community of people. So you've got to have that care for people. You've got to have a level of understanding. I think you've got to have a level of understanding that not everybody's in the place that you want them to be or where you are at. And, life is pretty variable these days, and there's a lot of external pressures and things that kind of impact that. And I think being able to kind of take all of that on board and still show up to work and build trust with each other every day is something that's pretty special. And then inevitably when you hit those moments when you need help, and it doesn't matter, whether that's in your personal or professional career, having those people around you that then step in and support you, that is pretty special. So over 18 and a half years, the amount of times that colleagues within Bytes have done that for me, daily, weekly, monthly, over that period of time, you look back at that, it's a pretty rich tapestry of people who care for you and believe what you believe. And that, I think that sense of belief is really important. And it's also really important when you're bringing new people into the business to say, I'm going to be really straight with you, Mark, this is what I believe. You might not believe the same things, which is fine. And there's always a way to kind of bring those two things together and challenge each other in the context of, how do we team up and go out there and deliver results in whatever form that may be, or whatever those outcomes may be based on your job role.
In previous episodes, when I've interviewed Graham Watt when he was running Softcat and Graham Charlton, now he's running Softcat. We've discussed the importance of maintaining the culture after the IPO closed. How has the IPO affected the culture at Bytes, or has it?
I think the key thing about Bytes is the core nucleus of Bytes is we're a growth company that's also a great place to work. So it's just maintaining a sense of that. And I don't think, and I think there's, people, well before me who have been fantastic custodians of that over quite a long period. So we're just really maintaining a trajectory that we're already on. But being really clear with people that these are our values, and we expect people to put those values in action. We hire for them, we vet for them, we celebrate them, we reward for them, and we recognise people who live those values. And I think if you can keep things really simple from that perspective, that will go a long way in maintaining that culture post-IPO and on a growth trajectory. It helps if you've got this backstory of doubling the operating profit or doubling the gross profit of the organisation over set periods of time, and it's just a continuation of that. It's hardwired into us as an organisation to continue doubling the company over a 5-year time horizon, and there's a great sense of belief and understanding as to how you plot that course and achieve it together. And if you work together, you will achieve more. Those types of principles are really important in just keeping a coherent message and a team that works together.
Jack, one question I really wanted to ask you is around a job title that's come to fruition over the last few years, quite popular now, and it can come in different sort of formats, either chief people officer or head of culture or head of people or whatever you want to call it. And when you get to a certain size of organisation, people see it as quite an important role. Is that something you've ever considered at Bytes or would consider at Bytes? And do you think it's important, that sort of head of people role?
I think it's really important. Not by any stretch does it mean that leaders and individuals around the business, don't take full responsibility for culture and for all the things that person would be an advocate of. But having somebody top of the pyramid, having somebody that you can go to whose job it is to stay on the edge on people analytics, on HR in the field, on putting values into practice, reward and recognition and employee benefits, and actually looking at these things holistically in the context of how can Bytes as an organisation be a powerful mechanism and a powerful force for change in your life, for you and your family. CPO, for me, is a fantastic, or head of people, it's a fantastic opportunity to really shine a light on all the great things that we already do, but then how do you go further? How do you go bigger? How do you go better? So having some dedicated to that, I think, is a wise decision for organisations once they get to a certain size. And I know certainly is, something that'll be under consideration for an organisation of of Bytes technology group or Bytes software services size in the context of how big we are and what our requirements are. There's another element here which I think pops up in your channel chat live events. Next one coming up soon. Quick plug.
Absolutely. Good plug. Good plug.
always in sales for you. And in past channel chat lives, I've seen this sort of come to the fore, particularly within our reseller and technology community, where people are looking at the new generation, right? The new generation of people coming in, and how do you support them in their supported development and integrate them into your organization, and then ultimately take their strengths and then help your organization be stronger. And sometimes there's a little bit too much of an emphasis on the negative. What haven't they got, rather than what can they bring? And I think a CPO can really help with that. So it's an interesting thing. A CPO might be able to look at, for example, who are managers. There might be people, rather than actually looking at that generation and actually saying, okay, these are all the things that they don't have. Here are the shortcomings, and emphasizing those, whether they're perceived or real, rather than looking at it and saying, actually, are they not the best people to be managers? Are they not the best people to coach in the context of work-life balance and take us through into the modern world of AI and all the external pressures, the side hustles and all these other things that impact their teams? Do they not have something unique to bring as digital natives into that environment? There are managers of the future for sure. But for me, a CPO would be looking at that saying, how do I bring that horizon forward, promote those people into leadership and management roles, and put them on a management track straight away, because they're already dealing with those environments. They're fresh in their minds, fresh in their experience when joining an organization such as ourselves. So they've got a bit of a superpower there that's completely untapped. It shouldn't be work your way up through the ranks and you'll be a sales manager in, God knows how long, or you're at the back of the queue because there are other people over here that have been around for X amount of time.
That's quite a modern way of thinking, Jack, isn't it? Because if I said to you, there's still a lot of culture out there, we're saying, well, they're not coming in, they're not working, XYZ hours, or they're too going on about wellness, or they're not doing they weren't flexible working. Basically, they never had it so good. But your approach is actually, how do we adopt that into the style now? Because there's that bridge of managers that have gone through what you've gone through.
Yep.
Probably 9 to 5 or 9 to 5:30, Monday to Friday in the office. You have to prove yourself. You have to do this. You have to do that. Are you saying now that potentially we should look at slightly evolving that culture for these people to come in? Because I think grads get a hard time. I think they get a hard time because they haven't. It's almost like you haven't done the hard yards through.
It's that grunt work. John Francis said this he leads our vendor solutions team at Bytes, immensely talented guy, and he said to me just yesterday, it was on a slightly different topic, but it really resonated with me, which is, there's a lot of us, so I'll count myself in this and talk about myself, which is you've gone through that grunt work and you were a grunt, right? But that doesn't mean that other people have to go through that rite of passage of being grunts or doing grunt work. It's such an archaic way of looking at it. Is actually through some of your experiences, the technology that's at your fingertips, and agentic AI and all these other things, you've got the ability to flourish day one. So why is that you should earn your stripes type mentality?
We want them to go through the pain, Jack, don't we? That's what it is.
But you're right, actually. And we laugh about it, but I wonder how many people, whether it's consciously or subconsciously, want them to go through the pain to get to where you got to, right? Apply that to women in tech. How many people, whether they're men or women, may have reached a certain level of seniority, but then see the advantages that people are trying to give and support development, and see that actually, no, you need to go through that same pain that I got to get there, and clearly there's more and more people that kind of embrace a more positive outlook to that. But it is interesting, human nature at the end of the day, which is, did I have to do the 9 to 5, well, it wasn't even 9 to 5, right? 9 to 10 p.m., work weekends, certainly my approach, kind of like outwork people around you in order to get ahead. Whereas actually, if you look at it now, say, there's a far more intelligent way of us being able to do that. You might have a bright talent that comes through, uses AI, and says, actually, I'm going to create an AI capability and an army of agents that allow me to deliver in my role far better than that person over there being put through their paces although it's 2006.
Jack, you touched on it about 5 minutes ago about side hustles. And I was wondering what your thought process is when you see people come into the organisation that maybe just want to do 9 to 5 or 9 to 5:30. Maybe they've got a side hustle they want to do.
Yeah.
So they're not giving 100% into Bytes. They're almost just working at Bytes and they're doing this thing on the side. How do you sort of manage and coax that? Because 20 years ago, people didn't really have side hustles. You had to work your way up, that sort of grunt style. That's not the case now, is it? People are coming to work for different reasons. So how do you manage those different personalities that are basically maybe just using Bytes for a job and they're actually planning to do something anyway?
I think the first thing, picking those things up and saying, who sees it as just a job, who sees it as a career, who sees it in the way that I do, which is just, this is a lot. This is, I don't have work and then my private life with a huge air gap. I just see it as this is who I am. This is my lifestyle, and the old adage, which is you enjoy what you do, you never work a day in your life. Yeah. So it's ambitious, but we should aim high and say, how do we make people feel that way? Feel how I feel about Bytes. And by that, that's not just because I was sales director and MD, as in from the first moment, I felt that way and then grew into it, and that feeling grew over that period of time. So I think that's something you really got to kind of look at, and you've got to try and tackle with each individual. I think there's also an element where you look at these things more holistically. You can say, look, you've only got, I don't know what it is, but you've only got 40% to give today, right? You might have a cold, or you might have been out last night, and entertaining friends, family, or hopefully customers, and you're coming in and you only got 40% to give. But if you give that 40%, you're still giving 100%.
Yeah,
in that
that's 100% of what your capacity is that day.
Of what you've got.
Yeah.
And I think if you just look at that holistically, you can say actually over a period of time and over a career or over a financial year or a quarter or a week, there's plenty of opportunity for you to move that dial in the context of where you're spending your time. We've got a concept within Bytes, which is 7 steps to $1 million, which is, we firmly believe we can take any kid off the street, 22 years old, no IT, no sales experience, and you can move them up through, deliver fantastic customer value, transformational change for your customers, and ultimately deliver, £1 million gross profit as an individual fee contributor.
It's amazing, isn't it?
We now do it in 4, but so the steps aren't necessarily about time. It's about capability, and it's about applying yourself. And it's not about the profit anymore. It's just an old moniker. It's more about what's the difference you're making, personal opportunity, growth, and impact. How do you help somebody unlock those talents within themselves in order to progress? And I think if you take that approach, you find that you attract a beam for talent, and people's mindset is they want to be in work with you because that's where they see their enjoyment, their success, and their development. If they see their enjoyment, success, and development doing side hustle over here, okay, but they're clearly they're entrepreneurial in that example. They want to make more money. They're probably sales orientated. How do you tap into that and say, okay, we can show you more opportunity over here, and we can give you a platform for growth?
Yeah. And that's what people want, don't they? A platform for growth.
And a lot of people joining, by the way, they just, similar to me, they don't know. Like, they might have just done a history degree and just kind of fallen into a job because they're like, I'm going to work here until I figure out what I really want to do with my life.
Yeah.
So actually what they're doing is searching for a purpose. And they've not found it yet. So it's your job as an organisation to give them that meaning and that purpose. You
mentioned Channel Chat Live. And when I had the last one, I had Mike Norris and Steve Rigby on. Mike from CC and Steve Rigby from SCC. Both likened the growth and adoption of AI as the biggest development since the creation of the internet. Bold claims, really. How are Bytes prepared for that?
I think like most organisations, you've got to look at the people and the technology. You've got to get your data right. The baseline, really, the table stakes for everybody has got to be around security. AI is a tool, so it depends what you want to use it for. So if you're some nefarious actor or state-sponsored threats, you can use it in some pretty damaging ways against people, not just organisations, against people, and materially affect their lives. So I think there's a real sense of responsibility around that in the context of how you use it and how you prepare for it. But then at the same time, I think you got to be really careful that you don't lose that sense of opportunity and kind of opportunistic optimism that you have around, wow, what could we use this for? So I use Microsoft Copilot every day. I would say pretty much all day.
Really?
And one of the best applications for me, and I know a lot of people will kind of cover it initially, the table stakes stuff, where they'll just say, okay, look, it will summarize your meetings on Teams, it will help you get started on this document, and it will do those kind of basic things. For me, number one thing right out of the box is it helps me have a better human connection with other people, because I'll use it as a coach in my pocket to prepare for this, for my next meeting, for my next engagement, for the next coaching session when I'm talking to somebody about giving the gift of feedback and how we can improve. For me, that is its superpower. That's how I use it most. So I think organizations kind of being able to kind of look across the diverse company and all the people within that company and say, actually, people are going to use it for different things, in the same way of that analogy we used about being in private school and saying, I'm a teacher, my job is to find that thing that's great about you and bring it out of you, support it, and then celebrate it, reward it, and really help develop you as a person. Of course, we want you to pass your exams as well, but this is that thing in you. I think there's a sense of that you can find within the use of artificial intelligence and agentic AI. You can say, what is it that you're passionate about? Customer service, generating opportunity, supported development, whatever those things may be, and say, well, there's, just like the old days, there's an app for that. Now, there's some thinking that needs to go into the organization as to how do you extract that value and then deliver it using these new technologies and tools.
Jack, let's bring you right up to date to today, 2025. What plans have you got personally and as the company to grow as a leader? So your growth as a leader, you've risen to the top MD. Where's the next growth for your development, and where's the next growth for you think for Bytes? We're
just getting started. It's the first thing. We are just getting started. We're learning. I think we're an organisation that loves to learn. That really helps. So building an organisation that's and participating in an organisation that's a growth company and a great place to work. That and knowing that that's just not a fixed statement. That is something you've got to work incredibly hard at all the time. You're never going to be perfect, but it's what you believe, and that's what you want to keep pushing for. So for me personally, it would be cast the net wide, learn from other people in order to help us grow and help our people grow, and be a great place to work. And that will be complete open-mindedness as to where I go, and how. How I do that, what I read, who I learn from, who I connect with. The first thing is speak to our customers. They share those same, they often share those same beliefs and those same values that we have, and they have the same problems and the same challenges that we have, and sharing what works. And it's the same thing when you sell technology. Most of the time you talk to customers, they just want to know who else, what did they do, what's worked for them, what hasn't worked for them, and learn from that experience. So if you can take that into any customer or internally within your organization, I think you're gonna make good things happen. And in the context of Bytes and where we go, Bytes is a healthy place to be at the moment, and I think there's untapped potential within us as an organization, and there's this wonderful sense of community and desire and belief that we can grow together. And let's see where it takes us. But be bold, be ambitious, be brave. I think we'll achieve great things.
Do you see in 2025 the opportunity for Bytes doing more of the same, getting more customers, or is there other opportunities, pockets of opportunities that you see that could be available in the market, for your market, your business?
For us specifically, continuing to grow cybersecurity, really strong with cybersecurity, but it is just hugely diverse, and with the advent of artificial intelligence, and it just presents a huge opportunity for us in the context of the value that we can deliver back to our customers, to the UK. So that's definitely a big one. Cloud and our positioning in the context of being a Microsoft Azure and an AWS and GCP partner, and capabilities that we have that underpin that really represents huge opportunity for us as well. Those are the two major kind of growth engines that we've already got, and we just got to go up through the gears with our partners and in those two particular areas. I think on the outside, there's there's just so much that you can do. It's kind of like choose your adventure. And that's what I'm really looking forward to with the engagement of my leadership team, which is born from the interactions of our staff and our customers, which is we're going to get to choose our adventure for these next 5 years. And let's see what happens. But be bold and be ambitious in terms of what we do. It's not more of the same in the context of that choice.
My last two questions, Jack. The first one, what advice would you give to aspiring leaders out there in the market, or a graduate that wants to go on your career path as well? What advice would you give them to try and get to the top? And I'll give a bit of a caveat that. Would you say to them, stay in the same company and try and work your way out? Or would you actually say, do you know what, you need to move and try and get mentors in other organisations? What advice would you give?
First and foremost, there's an element of learn, live and lead about these sort of things. So anybody can be a leader. Just because you're a manager doesn't actually mean that you're a leader. So anybody can lead. It's about finding that confidence and that capability. And that capability is built from learning from others. So the more exposure you get from more people, the more questions you ask. I think the quality of your questions, far more powerful than the quality of your answers. That might be relevant in the context of this conversation. I think that's a really big thing. I think the other big thing is, I guess I liken it to, I've got two young sons, one's 4, one's 7, and what do I want for them, and what are the things that I'm doing with them to set them off on a trajectory, not in a kind of oppressive way, but just sort of like open their minds. Yeah. And, in that context, I just think actually there would be nothing better for them to have that entrepreneurial spirit, nothing better for them to move into a very small company whereby within close proximity, you've got the founder who may also be the CTO, and you've got the FD, and you've got the head salesperson, right? And it might just be a small emerging company, but you are seeing it live, right, and every day, people wearing multiple hats, multiple challenges and setbacks, learning from them, moving on, and being in that environment. Boy, I mean, you're gonna learn amazing things, and you're gonna get paid for it rather than go to university and necessarily not be exposed to those things, pay through the nose for it. So that's something I think for people to kind of consider, and it might be kind of useful for some people. That's definitely something that I would advocate. It's not something that I've done, clearly. I've done it in a more structured way because I've been fortunate enough to land in an organisation who's believed in me and supported me along that way. But that is massively about the people around you supporting you on that journey. Whereas I think today there's a greater degree of emphasis on, particularly within smaller companies, of you've got to take that personal responsibility and go drive that yourself. And I think that's an opportunity in itself for anybody to really kind of harness what they've got. One of the best ways I've always found to learn and accept that people learn different ways, which is sitting next to people who are relatively new, asking you questions every day. I sat next to a sales guy many, many years ago, Bobby Hogg. When he first joined Bytes, I was in frontline sales. We were in frontline sales together. And every day, he would just ask me questions, all day. And never afraid to ask the kind of instant question. And that just reinforced my mind and capability and being able to play it back to somebody in a way that just cut through all the BS and actually got straight to and this is how you use it, and this is how we go for it. So he really helped me in being able to learn how to speak to people in, pretty broad church at Bytes now, and you've got to be able to speak to people in ways that really connect with them and actually add value to them. So keeping your mind open, so you can learn anything from anyone. I think that's a really big thing.
My last question, Jack, and I don't want you to say Microsoft.
Okay.
What is the company in 2025 you think is the one to watch? Could be a vendor, could be a reseller, could be a distributor, competitor. Who is it to watch?
And I'm not allowed to say
Not
Microsoft.
Not Microsoft, no.
Why can't I say Microsoft? Is that because everyone says Microsoft?
Everyone says Microsoft. So, and I thought, do you know what? I'm going to speak to Jack. I thought, don't say Microsoft. Who do you think? Could be a competitor, another partner, a distributor, another vendor. Not Microsoft. Who do you think is the one to watch who will do well in 2025?
I guess just to unpack that question a little bit, right? Why is it that everybody says Microsoft, right? So here's the interesting question, which is, what is it that Microsoft are doing that are making people, answer that question? And then maybe let's that be our guide in finding a sensible answer. I'm going to unpack that from my brain and talk about it so you can see how I think, which is, what are Microsoft doing in this area? Well, they've got a really rich portfolio. They've gone from sort of following in some areas to leading in and and that's generating excitement, but also they're moving things really fast. So DeepSeek is now on Azure within a really short space of time in the context of AI. So it's exciting, it's relevant, and they're pushing the envelope in the context of what customers need and what those gaps are. And they offer a platform in the context of Microsoft Azure and a whole heap of other things, really broad, deep security portfolio. So those, I think, are all elements that kind of contribute to some of the reasoning why people would say Microsoft, over and above the fact that they might make a lot of money selling.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? There's that too. So where can you make a lot of money selling something, and what has those other types of, let's call it, platform excitement and platform attributes? I would go to cybersecurity vendors. I would look at cybersecurity vendors that have that platform organically or via acquisition, or are building that platform over time. And then, again, choose your adventure, whether you want to go Palo Alto Networks, or you want to look at Checkpoint, look at Sentinel-1. You want to look at those organizations. All have a degree of those attributes and trajectory, and many others as well. So I'm more inclined to actually look at, what are the attributes that are really attractive to us as a partner, and attractive to me in the concept of what it is that I believe. That would guide my decision. And then there'll be one that will come out of left field that will have those same things. And that'll be an opportunity for the channel to kind of look at that, embrace it, and do what we do, which is help take that to market and deliver value for our customers.
Jack, you've been a great guest. Thanks so much for your time.